Well, hey everybody, I'm Jan Erickson from Stepping Aside, and it's already getting hot in here in the still room with the door closed and everything and the candles burning. Oh my goodness. We're supposed to get to 109 today. We were at 107 yesterday. That was just fun times. We were in the house though for most of it. I mean, we were out, because we had to do watering and stuff, but we tried to stay in as much as possible when it was up there above 100. So we were running around getting everything done, everything watered, but then we had to do it all over again, some of it anyway, in the afternoon because it just dries out everything. And plus, we're on the high desert, so we already have that issue, right? So hopefully you guys had a good week, and you're staying cool wherever you are. If not everybody has air conditioning, not everybody even has a fan, so. And if you've got power issues going on, I mean, this is just a nightmare, isn't it? So do the best you can to stay as cool as possible. Anyhow, I think I'm done with that. I'll grab it again if necessary. Anyway, let me take a drink of tea. I started this once. I got about 5 minutes in and the thing froze. So I guess maybe it's hot too. I don't know. All right, what is going on with my cloth? There it is. I feel like there's something bunching up under my sleeve, and it's not or underneath my shawl here, and it's not my shawl. So anyhow, let's take a look at the rune. Birkenau's the rune. I'm just going to keep the two runes, and then I was just starting to shuffle and lay down cards when the thing froze. So here we have Birkenau. This is an earth element rune. It means fertility. I kind of look upon it as the earth mother rune, or the goddess rune, basically. But it's about birth and fertility and bringing projects to a fruition, or bringing anything to a fruition. So that's why childbirth would be part of that. Protection, healing, family. And then we have Albus for the geomancy rune, and that's clear sight. It's the wisdom. It's the sage. It's a person with white hair. It can also be someone who's so intelligent that they're aloof, so wise that they seem aloof. But a lot of that is not that they're it's not that they're aloof. It's that they're in their head, and they're thinking, and so they don't seem to notice necessarily other people are there. So, it doesn't mean they're trying to be mean or off-putting or anything like that. It's just that they're in their heads. So that's another aspect of Albus. Let's go ahead and get going on the cards, though. I'm going to shuffle just a little bit more. If the newsletter went out on Saturday, if you want to sign up for that, that's over on the blog on the side panel. Just put your email in there. It's up toward the top. Just scroll down till you see it. It's above the videos. I put videos on the side panel too, so it's above those. So if you want to get the esoteric influences that go out on Sundays, that are posted on the blog on Sundays, if you want to get them in your inbox on Saturday night, you can do that. Let's see. The forecast goes up on the blog. It's the big one every day, Monday through Friday. So that'll go up today for Monday. And that's going to include a rune divination, numerology, aspect patterns, lunar transits, the cosmic rays, the positioning of them, Lilith, where Lilith is, where the nodes are, the aspects with them, where the ascendant is. It's kind of an esoteric astrology leaning, basically, as opposed to traditional. So if you want to take a look at that, if you're a Patreon member, you can see the magical correspondences Monday through Friday, and usually there's a short video talking about what I'm recommending for the day. There's that, and then I do the esoteric forecast over on Medium 5 days a week, Monday through Friday. So check all that out if you want to. And if this is your first time here, welcome. I hope you'll click subscribe and come back. And what we do here on Monday and Thursday on Somewhat Daily Tarot and Rune is we're going to take a look at an Elder Futhark rune and a Geomancy rune, and then use that as the primary influence that then the cards will hopefully align with. And if not, then we'll talk about that as well. We look at the numerology of things here too, if it seems appropriate, or if I remember. Usually I remember. Sometimes I'll get in a flow and I'll forget about it. I'll forget to say, oh, the overall numerology is this. But basically, we start on Monday, and then we review on Thursday quickly, and then we see if Thursday's reading is going to dovetail into it, or if we're going to turn a corner and do something else. I used to do this Monday through Thursday, so there were 4 readings a week, but I think that it doesn't give people a chance to really let some of these ideas gel, and then it gives me a chance to do something else on Wednesdays if I want to do that with herbs or with witchcraft or something like that. So anyhow, let's go ahead and take our first card and see what we have. To complement Birkenau, the new beginnings of Birkenau, I think, and Albus, wisdom, we have the 2 of Wands. Now, let's take a closer look at this card. We see a man of means, a merchant perhaps, and he's standing up on the precipice, isn't he, of something new. He's looking out over the water. He's holding a globe in his hand. You see the globe there? That's a globe, in case you can't see it very well. Now, wands, these are wands. I know they look like staffs, but they're wands. This is the 2 of Wands. And so one wand is affixed to the concrete half wall here. He's up at the top, like up at a tower, up at the top of the castle or what have you. And he's looking out over the expanse. He's making a decision. He's holding the world in his hands. In other words, he's looking for new opportunities. But it kind of looks like he's stepping through a doorway into new experiences, doesn't it? Because he's standing in between the 2. So he's having to make a decision. 2 is about cause and effect. It's about balance, but it's also about making decisions. And this is having to do with how he's going to make a living, basically. Now you look at the 3 and you see the ship coming in, basically. So it begins with a decision, and then the 3 is looking as the same sort of experience, only it's looking out the other direction, going this way, this way. and then you're seeing the ships in the harbor. So it's basically waiting for a ship to come in. So the decision's made here, and the outcome is made with the 3. But again, with Birkenau, you're talking about the earth element. And so you're talking about physical security, issues of physical security. And with new beginnings in the family, clearly he's out there trying to do something to make his life or his family's life more secure. And so a decision has to be made with respect to that today. Let's take our next card. We'll shuffle a little bit more. Well, we have the Knight of Pentacles. Now, Knights are active. They're action-oriented. But again, this is Pentacles. So again, we're talking about moving forward and taking a risk on behalf of our material security. You can see he's in his battle attire, but the visor is up. So he's not, he's just standing there on it, or sitting there on his horse. His horse is standing there. And I love this particular horse. It's so strong, and it's just so reliable. And that's the thing about anything to do with Pentacles and this particular Knight. He's out there on behalf of other people. So that tells us, again, that reinforces the idea that he is out there having to make a decision now about not only his own future, but the future of his family as well. Let's see if there's anything I've forgotten about our Knight. Practical, realistic. So whatever the decision that you have to make here today needs to be practical and realistic, and likely about your financial security, material security. And again, typically that involves finances. It's what they can buy you, what kind of security they can buy you. Maybe you're thinking about taking a different job. There's been a lot of that where people are rethinking how they work. A lot of businesses are rethinking how much can we do at home. For some businesses, this has been a really successful thing, and they figured out that they can reduce costs by having people, structure the work differently. maybe not have as maybe they don't have to have as big a building to go to if people are coming in small groups instead of together as one big company that's there all day long every day, right? If they can do some of this at home, then that and telecommute that way, well, that's a good thing. Both my kids do that, and it works out real well for both of them, and they've been doing it for quite a while. And I think that it's been a component. They're both in the tech field, and so it's been a component in part of their work life anyway. So doing this during the pandemic really wasn't. I mean, it was very doable for all of them. So it'll be interesting to see how much business changes, and I think that it makes sense that with Birkenau, you're talking about your security, your earth level security. So material security, family, your job, your future, your all of that is wrapped up in the earth element, and sometimes things like disasters and pandemics and extreme things that happen, they can cause people to pause and make a different decision. And it just feels like this is what this is about. I think that Albus probably aligns well with the Knight of Pentacles in terms of the wise, practical approach to whatever decision that needs to be made. But again, we're using the will with the fire element to try to come into to make some kind of decision, with the two over the new direction to take in order to achieve that. And I find it interesting, that instead of everybody getting back to work at the same job they were at, not everybody's doing that. Some of it's due the business is closed, so what can they really do, right? Well, here we have the Knight of Wands. So you can see the difference between the two knights. This one's the fire element again. And I generally interpret this as a quest to the Holy Land, but what we're going to do with that, I think, is bringing spirituality into the whole mix. So it's a higher purpose here. I think that than simply going out and just deciding I'm going to have a new job. I really do think that there's been some rethinking and reevaluation about how all that happens, and how can that happen in a way now that we've had our kids home with us, for example, for the last however long, a year or whatever maybe, and you've been homeschooling your kids. And you've been figuring out a way to do work at home and help them and all of that. And maybe you've gotten into the groove where you like doing this. And so there may be some restructuring there as well. The thing about the Knight of Wands, and not all knights are protective, but with the Knight of Pentacles, you're going to be having a more risk averse type of a sense. Think Taurus. My mother was a Taurus, and she was risk averse until, of course, she wasn't. But because she would step outside that comfort zone from time to time. But I guess that's the idea. Is you've got, with the Knight of Pentacles, you've got someone that may not be so willing to step outside their comfort zone, but with the Knight of Wands, you have someone who is. Here you have risk averse balanced against taking the risk. And you're having to make a decision, but it's about your future, you see. So you need to do it with, and again, with Birkenau, but you need to do it with the wisdom of Albus, with the clear sight, with clarity, with the wisdom of the sage, to be able to then, go and use your will in a way that actually is there on behalf of others, instead of just on behalf of the self. Let's look at the card that's going to challenge us here today and see what that one is. Well, you've got the High Priestess as the inner challenge, and so again, it's reminding us again of wisdom, but this is inner wisdom, and then that's true of Albus as well. It's also inner wisdom. Here we have the High Priestess sitting on a bench in between the Pillars of Solomon. The Tree of Life sits behind her on that tapestry. She's got one foot resting on the maiden moon. This is a card of Genesis, along with the magician. When the fool takes the leap of faith into form, we have the genesis of the subconscious or unconscious realm within, and that's imbuing the soul within. You have the magician manifesting the physicality of the experience, and then you have the high priestess and the unknown, and the unconscious self, higher self, basically. You see the triple aspect, the maiden mother crone on her crown. And you see the, and I'm going to show you this here because I already have it written up. You see the cross on her, she's holding the Torah on her lap, and you see the cross right here. Well, this is what, to me, this represents. You've got the abyss. This is the line of the abyss, and here is where you have also the feminine and masculine polarity. Here you have spirit, here you have form. This is the downward motion of the soul imbuing itself into form down through the polarity, down through the abyss. Ideally, we want to be in the center in terms of our awareness, but all too often we're way down here at the bottom where ego controls things. So what I think that it's saying here and depicting with the High Priestess card is the fact that we are that we really need to live in some kind of balance with spirit, with being aware that we are in fact spirit inhabiting these bodies, and that needs to be the soul that drives the vehicle instead of the ego driving the vehicle, like happens all too often. But here the challenge is to let your inner wisdom come forth, let what you know come forth, accessing higher self, so that higher self can come in and define, and assist you in dealing with whatever is coming up here. This balance between taking a practical approach and being risk averse, versus being risk oriented. In order that you get the most out of it, you've got to find the balance between the earth element and the fire element. So let's take the card that's going to better us, that's going to be the support card. 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 10, 11, 12, 13. I'm going to take the 13th one for this one. Well, we have the world. Yeah, it indicates success. If we can do that, if we can balance, the will with the our practical, reliable, rational side, our more grounded side. If we can figure out how to do that, then we can come full circle. Here you see, just like you do with the Wheel of Fortune, although you'll see a wheel there. Here you see a garland, and that has no beginning and no end. It's victory. You see the lemnis gates above and below. It shows the cycles of life. You see the hermetic glyphs for the 4 elements in each corner of the card. The same was true with the Wheel of Fortune, which is what I started to say. And there you have the wheel. With the wheel, it's the same sort of thing, only it's cyclical. The idea that fortune is cyclical, that maybe we have fortune one day and maybe not so much the next. In other words, not every day is going to be successful. We're going to have our ups and downs. But there we have some form of completion, and then a new cycle begins, from there. And here, this is the final card of the major arcana, the 21st. And so, everything is in balance. Mind, body, spirit is in balance with one another. And here we have, instead of one wand here, we have 2. We had one with the magician. He's holding it high up in an as above, so below type of message to us, or I should probably say energetic flow, really. But if we understand that, if we understand the cyclical nature of life, then maybe we can plan out a better decision. We can plan for the ups and downs. We can say, well, okay, we can consider the different options of the choice that the guy in the 2 of Wands is going to make here. What is really going to benefit the family? What kinds of strengths do I bring to the equation? What kind of weaknesses? Where do I have to maybe get a little more experience? Is the decision I make, is it going to be risky? Is it going to be something that maybe maybe does things in a progressive fashion instead of putting all of his eggs in one basket, so to speak. Maybe he is a little bit more gingerly. Instead of jumping into the deep end of the pool, he's going to wade in down in the lower the area of the pool, in the kids pool area, basically. So it's how are you going to approach the cyclical nature of life? It's going to be a continuous process. And so it's a continuous process of reevaluating, am I keeping, the more risk prone side of myself in line with the more practical, because there are other people involved here. It's not just me that's involved. Maybe I'm a supervisor in a company, or maybe I own the company. And the last thing I want to do is make decisions that's going to impact the people that work for me and maybe put them out of a job if I ruin my business, right? The same is true if you're just working a regular 9 to 5 job. You have a family, and the last thing you want to do is make any decisions that's going to impact the safety and security and well-being of your family. And so the decision that you have to make, you have the whole world in your hand. And so that tells you there's other people involved here. And the decision that has to be made, has to keep that will in check. The will's going to motivate, certainly, but it can't do things that are so risky that it puts everyone else at risk, essentially, you see. And so be mindful of the inner voice with the high priestess. Balance that whole thing within the practicality versus taking risks. Because if you don't take a risk, sometimes you're never going to move beyond, right? It's just you've you've really got to look at all the factors involved before you do it. And then the benefit is you'll have a successful outcome, you see. So anyhow, that's it for right now. Let's talk again on Thursday, and I'll write all this down and remind you of what we talked about, and see where this goes. We've been seeing a lot of energy in both the esoteric influences and also here with the cards and the runes for new beginnings, the chance for something new to take hold here, whether it's perceptions, healing relationships, getting a different job. How we approach life has been loosened. Our perceptions surrounding that has been loosened by the pandemic. It just has. And I think that this gives people the opportunity, it gives businesses an opportunity to rethink things, but it also gives workers the opportunity to rethink things. You might want to open your own business, for example, and you're trying to figure out if that's even doable. And if it is, it's like, well, okay, how are we going to approach this? So again, to preserve the safety and security and well-being of the family in the process. It's risky to do anything like that, to make any changes like that. And so you want to do it in a way. It's like you don't ever leave a job if you can possibly help it without having one to go to. That would be an example of that, right? So just pay attention to how that manifests in your life. And it could be something really minor that this has to do with instead of something major, just a little decision you have to make, but it affects other people. So, and we'll get together on Thursday again and see if we have anything more to say about this, or if maybe we've turned a corner. Maybe we'll get more information on what the decision is you have to make. So anyhow, have a good day. Stay cool. Stay sheltered if you can, out of this horrible heat if you're in the areas where this is happening, and like we are. And be good to yourself, be good to one another, and blessed be.